Hello and welcome. Today I wanted to talk about the Path of Exile 2 Mercenary gameplay walkthrough that GGG released about 2 weeks ago. This was also before they showed us the current league, which we are playing right now. More on the league in the next video, but first, let me give you some key moments in that gameplay walkthrough they gave us. So first of all, the video drops us right into the action, which I appreciate, because gameplay over everything else, in my opinion. You can see the gameplay, you can see the HUD, walking around, and it just feels good, right? It's like, it's close. It's like you can feel it, that we're so close on being able to play it ourselves, which, you know, that's what I want to do. Of course, this is a YouTube video, but still, in my opinion, the environment looks absolutely stunning, especially the fog, the textures, and even the wetness of the stone. It's beautiful how just gorgeous it looks. They also told us that we could throw grenades on top of roof tiles, so we can just, you know, let them bounce to the other side. I have no idea what speedrunners will do with this tech, but I am having my eye on Tai. I'm sure he's gonna do just some wacky stuff. Mind blow number 1 was also WASD movement, like, holy heck, yes please. I don't know if I can fully get used to this because of, you know, 6,000 hours moving around with my mouse. On the other side, some other people have 16,000, and I think Scissoring is at like 25,000. Either way, I think this will take some time to get used to it, but other than that, it's just a pure upside, because now other players who aren't into the whole, you know, moving with the mouse, they can now move with WASD and also enjoy the same game and, you know, feed the economy. So I appreciate that. Please give me all your cheap items. I'm looking forward to that one player who sells me their 35 movement speed boots for like 3C. Yes, please. Mind blow number 2 was that some skills can now be used while moving. This is, of course, absolutely huge. It's kind of insane that they didn't show us this earlier, probably because Mercenary wasn't ready, because so many people at ExileCon felt that PoE 2 was very slow. Now, being able to use skills while moving, a whole new world opens up. Maybe some people will, or some players will only play skills in which you can move. Technically, there is Cyclone, but I think they meant it in a different way. It's not just channeling and moving, it's probably also some, well, we saw it, you know, just with the machine gun, artillery gun, you can just move and shoot enemies, so this is kind of nice. And something minor that I nearly missed, and I think it was also mentioned on the podcast, there is a stun bar and underneath the health bar now. So that's kind of neat as well. Now, breaking this down a little bit more, right away, I feel like the Mercenary's damage output felt very chunky. Like, I feel like the sound effects, the animation, and visual clarity really makes it pop and feel good to play, or at least feels good to look at. We haven't played it yet, of course. And the particles, when he also used the incendiary bolts, how do you say that word? Incendiary bolts, just look absolutely gorgeous. I think it was mentioned in the graphic keynote that they have like new particle system, and I think you can see a lot of them in Affliction right now in the Wildwoods. So they're like sprinkling it in the new tech. It just looks absolutely gorgeous and beautiful, you know, and just gives the whole game a little bit more of a pizzazz. Of course, this is just visual stuff, and most people are probably not too keen on all that stuff. They just want, like, big weapon, cool modifiers, big DPS. But we are not there yet, so soon. You know, the closed beta is in... God, it's another 6 months, good lord. Anyways, so the Mercenary also felt very heavy and slower than the Ranger, which kind of makes sense if you think about it. At least he's not as nimble as her, which makes sense, but he's also not as slow as the Marauder and Warrior, right? He's a little bit like the middle point. Of course, it's PoE, so in the end game we might have 50 movement speed and just start zooming everywhere, so who knows what's gonna happen. Keep in mind, the Mercenary is the main class, right? But we'll have Ascendancy or subclasses just like in normal PoE, so I was wondering, what could those be? And here are just some predictions. So one would be a Commando, could be the option. So a very tanky character or subclass that deals heavy damage, but maybe in a short area. So maybe, for example, imagine a very beefy guy with a shotgun that blasts enemies up close. The other subclass could be a warlord, so maybe a supportive role, giving allies and team members buffs, depending on the weapons or skills used. Actually, we already kind of see that with the Mercenary and Frostwall, which works completely differently like in PoE 1 right now. And the third subclass, and hear me out, this probably sounds weird, what about stealth? I know there is no stealth in PoE 1, you just blast, right? But PoE 2 is gonna be a bit different, so maybe you have a skill that makes you invisible and deal enough, like, increased crit damage if you get close to the enemies. And there are like dozens of them. I mean, who knows? I could imagine a third subclass that moves around really quickly, applies debuffs, is invisible, and potentially can crit enemies that maybe then drops their armor or whatever, so the allies that actual deal damage then come in and just blast everything away. I can imagine that party team play. Now briefly, let's talk about the weapons, even though I couldn't really understand all of them, and I think I will not understand all of them for quite some time, because it seemed very complex. Like, there are so many varieties, you can use skill gems in them, but I think they also come with their own little skill gem thing. Like, the class is very different from other classes that we've seen, so it probably will take a few hours of gameplay, maybe a few nights of reading the wiki, you know, like the typical PoE stuff. In short, they seemed fine. I'm just not a huge fan of weapon swapping ever in any game, to be honest, but it comes down to how it feels and how it's used. So what do I get for clicking the extra button every, I don't know, 10 seconds, let's say? Skipping ahead through the gameplay walkthrough, there was, of course, the boss with the baby that she cut out of her stomach, question mark. Super weird. Absolutely loved the reaction on Twitch, you know, everyone was like, what the flying heck am I seeing, you know? It's great. It's absolutely great. And it just seems like another step above PoE 1, not only from the animation and the visual part, but I think also kind of like how it like told the story a little bit of this character. PoE 1 does this quite well with a lot of bosses, but I feel like this one was just another step above. If you show me the Act 9 boss, even though, you know, it's an amalgamation of all the three, what is it, like, Guardians, whatever they're called, right, from Malachi, it doesn't really hit that spot like that boss did. Now, after watching the gameplay walkthrough, would I even play this class, right? Is this even my class at all? I think whenever PoE 2 releases, which will be probably soon, yes, I'm huffing that copium really hard. I probably will play every class over the course of like a year or two and experiment, and of course let the community, you know, figure everything out, and then I'll just yoink a build that looks good. The last time I made a build was Frostblade about 6 years ago, and it dealt a massive amounts of 30k DPS. No, that wasn't Shaper DPS, by the way. If you haven't watched the gameplay walkthrough yourself, I highly recommend you do. You know, just grab your lunch, watch it in the background, maybe not on your phone, maybe not on an actual monitor because of the quality. And yeah, lean back and enjoy the Mercenary slaying hundreds of mobs. I actually don't even know how many mobs there were, but it felt like there were more than usual. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to stay hydrated, gamers. And until next time, bye-bye.